Hello everyone, I am Akash and today we are going to discuss about the global carbon emission. So what do you mean by global carbon emission? So the carbon emissions refers to the releases of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, which is primarily from burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil and natural gases for electricity, transportation and industries. So when the too much of carbon dioxide accumulates, it triggers to the greenhouse effect, which where the heat gets trapped in the Earth's atmosphere, which drives global warming and destabilizing our climate. And here we can see that where do the emissions come from? So the emissions are basically coming from the electricity generation, transportation, and industries, and also due to deforestation and also in agriculture. So in the electricity generation, we can see that when the coal or fired power plants remain the single largest source of carbon dioxide worldwide. While under the transportation, we can see that the cars, trucks, and other transportation vehicles releases enormous volumes of carbon dioxide daily. And in the industry side, we can see that manufacturing processes from steel to cement emit carbon at massive scale and under the deforestation, so where the clearing of forests removes nature's carbon sinks, releasing stored carbon dioxide back into the air. And in the under of agriculture, the livestock, fertilizers, and farming practices release methane and other greenhouse gases. So the consequences are already here. So here we can see that the global warming, so like glaciers and polar ice are melting at unprecedented rates. So the rising of seas, like coastal cities, face increasing floods risk as sea levels climb. So the extreme weather, so the floods, droughts, and cyclones are growing more frequent and severe. So this also has the health crisis, like air pollution drives respiratory disease and reduces life expectancies and it also causes biodiversity loss, where the species unable to adapt to rapid climate shift and face extinction. So, what the world must do? So, solving this crisis required bold decisions at every level of government and industry. So, first thing, we need to implement renewable energy, like the rapidly shift from fossil fuels to solar, wind, and hydropower. And the second thing is electric vehicle. Instead of using the coal or the fuel thing, we can use the electric vehicles, which can reduce huge amount of carbon dioxide emission. So the strong policies like implement enforceable environment regulation and carbon pricing. You have more power than you think, which means like it's you who decide our future of our earth. Like choose green transport, like take public transit, carpool, or cycle instead of driving solo. Plant trees. Every tree absorbs carbon dioxide and restores the natural carbon cycle. So save energy, switch off lights, unplug devices, and choose energy efficient appliances. Reduce and recycle. Minimize waste, reuse products, and recycle to cut manufacturing emissions. So the technology as a force for good. Engineers, technologists, and AI researchers are on the front lines of climate solutions. Technology gives us tool no previous generation has had. So the students in STEM field have a unique, powerful role to play in developing tomorrow's climate solutions. First thing is monitor, second one is optimize and innovate, and the fourth step is build. So the monitor means what we should like. We use AI powered sensors to track the emissions in real time. To optimize, we use smart grids to reduce energy waste. And we innovate a clean tech develops sustainable materials and fuels. And we also build a smart cities which integrates green infrastructures at scale. So that every degree counts. It means the choices made in this decade will determine whether we limit warming to survivable levels. So the window for action is real and it is still open. So first act now, which reduce emission today. Adapt fast, build climate resilient, and sustain tomorrow. Secure a livable planet. So we borrow this planet from the future. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. So the global carbon emission are not just an environment issue, they are human issue. The science is clear, the tools exist, and the time to act is now. Learn, understand the issue deeply, act, make greener daily choices, inspire, bring others along with you. So here is the data that I have collected from the OWID current carbon dioxide data set. And here we can analyze that the countries which are in high GDP are emitting more carbon dioxide. So here at the first place, the United States are emitting more CO2. And the second is the China and other moderate emitters like Germany, UK, India, Japan, and Russia. And other thing is like lower emitters are Canada, France, and Africa. So the CO2 emissions by source over time. So here you can see that like the fuel source contribution from the year 1950 to 2025. The coal remains dominant, especially in developing economies. So the coal have the largest historical contributor to CO2 emission, and the oil increased significantly after 1970, and the gas with transportation growth also increased the emission of carbon dioxide, and the cement increased with urbanization. So here I already discussed about this, like the carbon dioxide and the GDP relationship. So the highly contributing GDP countries are emitting more carbon dioxide in case because of urbanization and the development of a particular country. In this, we can see the scatter plot, which shows the large points are showing the large contributor, which is basically USA. And here we can see that the CO2 per capita over time, which means like here we can see that carbon footprint from the year 1750 to 2024. So the emissions remain minimal until industrialization, then increased rapidly. The global emissions inequality. So this is a chloropleth map reveals uneven distribution. So the industrialization nations emit significantly more, yet climate impacts affect all countries globally. The high emitters, USA, China, major industrial nations show darker colors. The low emitters, many African countries show lower emissions. And the shared challenge, climate change affects all despite unequal contributions. Then the historical cumulative carbon dioxide growth by year. So the historical CO2 growth shows a steady rise from the industrialization revolution onward, with sharp acceleration after 1950 due to rapid industrialization, fossil fuel consumption, and global economic expansion. So this is the basic dashboard which I have created, interactive dashboard. So where you can easily understand what's our topic is about. And the conclusion I am going to make is like the analysis reveals that the fossil fuel dependencies and economic expansion are the primary drivers of global CO2 growth. So, transitioning to renewable energy and adopting sustainable policies are essential to reduce emissions and mitigate climate change. And now we are going to discuss about the uh, like the code which I have done here. So here we can see that first I have loaded the data set, the OWID CO2 data set. So I loaded it, and these are the headings like a country, year, ISO code, population of the country, and GDP, and the emission like CO2, etc. So here I have removed the missing values by using the data cleaning method. And here we can see that the global CO2 emissions. So the global emissions like up to the year like 1750, it is about 55.83 and it drastically increasing basically. So actually increasing. The visualization is like we can see that here we can analyze it like CO2 emissions. So of the years from 1750 to the current year, we can see the CO2 are increasing. So here we have also analyzed the moving average. So the moving average, we have taken it like the original moving and the 5 year moving average. So we can actually analyze the thing. So the top 10 emitting countries. So here we can see the world which contributes more CO2 emission. and Asia and upper middle income countries and high income countries are emitting more CO2. So in this we can analyze like basic insights like year with highest emissions is 2024 and the maximum emission value is how much? 2,45,672 and the year with lowest emission is 1750. So with this I conclude our presentation. Thank you.